Give that a second. And looks like we are live. So, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Nerding Out Sports Live with Rob and Donald. And today we're going to give it another shot because we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks now. Talking about the Giants' free agency moves. Luckily, our last attempt didn't actually go through because we made some new signings over the last week. But we'll start with the offensive line moves, probably having two starters now with Glowinski and Feliciano at right guard and center. Donald, give us your thoughts.
Well, Glowinski is obviously a really good pickup. 34th in pass block win rate, which was one spot ahead of Will Hernandez last year per Jordan Ranan, and he was 11th in run block win rate. So that's obviously way ahead of any other guard. I mean, to be fair, so he was the 21st ranked guard per PFF last year. There was no Giant in the top 50. So that's a clear upgrade, Glowinski. So you can pencil him in there and be pretty confident that he's going to be a very solid addition.
Yeah, we needed it. Obviously, the offensive line was a big issue. So, the fact that we got two projected starters, one being a significant upgrade from what we had at both guard positions, definitely helps, and for a pretty low cost on the cap as well, so a pretty team-friendly deal. And we're getting someone from that Colts offensive line cannot hurt because that Colts offensive line is certainly strong. I like Feliciano a lot. I wasn't too down on Billy Price, to be honest. I thought he was pretty good towards the end of the year last year, but it's clear that the new regime is going with familiarity in a lot of our moves, a lot of former Buffalo Bills with the ties to Joe Shane and Dable, and with some of the moves we made defensively, getting some former Wink Martindale guys. So in terms of the offensive line, I feel like the Giants have added starters, and now they've added depth as well. And it does kind of, I guess I'll make this a next question, if it affects the draft focus at all, because some people were thinking that the first two picks need to be offensive linemen. I think now, if you get a right tackle, you've pretty much finished your offensive line moving forward. So I still believe that Cross or Iquanu, or maybe even Evan Neal if he slips, are available at that pick. The Giants take them, and then we'll see what they do with the other pick. But I'm really, really liking what we've done with the offensive line so far. We've gotten some solid players, and we already had Andrew Thomas in place, and now you just really got to finish one more position in the draft, and then you have your offensive line.
You think so? Okay, so I mean, we've now got ourselves a center, so that's good. I think Feliciano is a very solid starter, or you could even be a rotational guard piece. I would pencil him in at center. You've got Glowinski now at right guard. You've got Thomas left tackle. Are you sure that we've got ourselves a left guard?
I think right now you're going to see competition. We brought in Douglas. I don't know if he's going to start for us, but we brought him in. Yeah. They have Shane Lemieux, who probably would have started last year had he not gotten hurt. They could always use a second or a third round pick on another guard. It's a pretty deep draft if they really, really wanted to. I think, look, we don't need 5 incredible players on an offensive line. Almost no team in football has just like 5 all-pros. Dallas had it a few years ago. They just in Philly, and it didn't really do much for them in terms of how they didn't win. They didn't win the championship or anything. You just need to have, in my opinion, at least 2 really, really good ones, and then you can kind of, mix and match with the rest of the positions. Not saying that you can just put anybody there, because we've tried that, and it's hurting us a lot. But, Thomas is a rock at left tackle. So we're set there. Glowinski at right guard, you're fine right there. Feliciano is more than fine at center. And if we are to get one of those 3 tackles at pick 5 or even at pick 7 in the first round, you've got 4 positions of 5 solidify with pretty solid talent all around.
How would you rank the tackles in the top 10. So obviously there's Charles Grott, there's Cross, there's Ekwonu, and there's Neal. Where would you rank them 1 to 3?
I'd put Ekwonu first. I think he's probably all around. I know a lot of the time going into the combine and everything, it was Neal. And you can almost say 1A, 1B with those two guys because Neal is just ridiculous. But it'd probably go Ekwonu, Neal, and Cross. And there's really no bad choice there.
No, there's not.
You know, if you get any one of those three, you've got your right tackle set and you've got your left tackle set for a very long time. So I think the Giants are in a really good position right now where they said, okay, we spent cheap but got starters to positions that we needed. We already had our left tackle. The left guard could already be on the roster. Let's get our right tackle, and now it's up to the rest of the offense to put something together.
Yeah, I'm not as confident in left guard as you are. The guard has to be dealt with in the draft. But as you say, it is very, very deep. You can go into the third round and still get a solid. Or you could even trade down from 7 and maybe even look at a Linderbaum. And then you could have Linderbaum start at center. You could have Feliciano play left guard. Feliciano's actually spent most of his time at guard last year. So that could work too. But they do need to address that also in the draft. Yeah, I mean, you have to be confident that when our pick comes at 5, the tackle that we want will likely be available. Or you could even have a situation where Thibodeau probably drops to 5, and you could still have your pick at a good tackle at 7. Cross will probably still be available at that point, especially if Malik Willis is picked either by Carolina or one of the teams trade up into the top 5 to get Willis. Then one of the best tackles, or possibly 2 of the best tackles, will drop down to even 7. So there's a lot of options, but you're right. Obviously, with one of the picks, tackle will be addressed. And if it's Ekwonu, we will be celebrating because that would be a huge pickup. But you can't go wrong with Neal, obviously. And Cross is he's certainly rising up draft boards.
The Giants like him. You know, they were all in on his pro day, and he might be the better all-around tackle to some people. You know, like, you know, Ekwonu has his strengths and weaknesses, and Neal, they're saying, is kind of like a raw talent that's got all the talent in the world, and he might be more of a, for whatever reason, they're saying he could be more of a project or whatever. But I don't think, like I said earlier, there's no wrong answer here. If you get any one of those 3, I'm celebrating because we've finally got a good left tackle and good right tackle for the first time since the Dave Deal, Kareem McKenzie days. So that's something we've needed. Solidify those ends. And if you want Daniel Jones to succeed, at least if it's just for this year, you gotta build that wall in front of him and protect the quarterback. So hopefully that is the first step, or the next step in doing so. Speaking of quarterback, we did sign one, Tyrod Taylor. That has sparked some conversation about who could potentially start for the Giants next year. I don't think it means much in terms of who's starting, but I do think it means nothing's guaranteed to DJ right now.
You're right. This move says to me, that they're going to give Jones every opportunity to keep his job and show what he can do, especially with an improved offensive line. That's obviously the plan. However, they've now got a very good fallback option. And because of the years and the money they've given him, it also raises the possibility that if it doesn't work out with Daniel Jones, whether through his neck injury or performance, then Taylor could come in even mid-season and be a very solid quarterback. I don't think there's a massive difference between Jones and Taylor at this point. I think that Jones is obviously better, but Taylor's still just as good in some respects. So yeah, there's that option. I think that would be fine. Or even you could have a situation where Taylor will be the handover quarterback to the next quarterback that we draft probably next year. So how would you assess Taylor's strengths and weaknesses?
I'd say he's got, obviously he can run. We know that. He's got the ability to scramble around, which the Giants certainly could use. We know that Daniel Jones does that. I think they're pretty similar in all honesty. I know you were talking about that before when we were trying to do this a week ago. This is something that you mentioned, that they're pretty similar in terms of their skill set. Daniel Jones probably has the more upside right now, but Tyrod Taylor is just a solid quarterback. And look, when we compare it to what we've had as our backup the last couple of years, Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, Colt McCoy, you have to be happy with having Tyrod Taylor. And if he needed to start a few games, if Daniel Jones wasn't ready at the start of the season, or if he went down, or if he just struggled, to go to Tyrod Taylor, a guy who has won in the NFL before, he's had success, nothing significant. He's never, given anybody a reason to think he's going to be a Pro Bowler or something like that, but he's just been solid, and right now that's really what we have on our roster is Daniel Jones has upside. We've seen it, but we've also seen the downside, and Tyrod Taylor is kind of just, I guess you can say, average. I wouldn't say he's overly exceptional at one thing and then terrible at another. So,
yeah, I think
average.
You could probably say that Jones, obviously, there's no question that Jones has a much, much higher ceiling, but he's also got a lower floor. I think that Taylor's got a lower ceiling but a higher floor, whereas his bad days are not nearly as bad as Daniel Jones's bad days, but Daniel Jones's good days far exceed any good days you can get from Tyrod Taylor. I think that's probably a fair way of summing it up. I think Taylor's pre-snap reads are better than Jones. He's better protecting the football than Jones, but Jones is better with his legs, and he can throw probably deeper, but Taylor's arm's still very solid too.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't hurt to have a good backup quarterback. Now, we are paying him some pretty decent money for 2 years, but I think that certainly, in terms of the future at quarterback, it tells me that we're not sold, or at least this new regime is not guaranteeing anything to Daniel Jones. So his fifth-year option probably won't be picked up, and I don't think it should be. But he's really got to prove it this year if he wants to stay with the Giants and stay with this new GM coaching staff regime. Then he's got to ball out, and if anything, it's going to hopefully light a fire under him, because for the first time since he's been drafted, it's only been a few years, but nothing is guaranteed to him right now. You've got to, if you want this job, you got to go out there and get it. Now, we know he's hurt. He was hurt last year, and it's going to be tough to come back from that. But, look, if he's healthy and he can play, we've seen the good with him. We've also seen the bad. So let's just hope that this is something that can get him on the right track with new coaching and just get him right, because we've seen it when he's on, he can be good. But like you said, when he's off, he can just be miserable to watch. So we really need to find that middle ground where you're seeing a good quarterback. We're not going to get Joe Burrow. We're not going to get Justin Herbert type of play out of Daniel Jones. But if we can just get good enough play to where we're not feeling like we're out of it, because I never felt like Daniel Jones was giving us a chance to win. As much as I wanted him to be that guy, I have never really seen that where he's giving us the chance to win. And he's had opportunities to lead us down the field, and he hasn't done it. A lot of variables go into that, but now with the new offensive line and hopefully some healthy weapons, we'll see if he gets that opportunity this year, if he takes off with it. But having Tyrod Taylor behind him as the fallback is not a bad thing at all.
I would argue that in the modern NFL, you actually need a better quarterback than just functional. And that's something that will need to be addressed. I can't see a scenario where Daniel Jones is anything other than average,
right,
as a ceiling probably. So that will need to be addressed at some point, because as you've seen, there's always a limit to how far a quarterback can go if he's only good or average. Just look at Garoppolo with that absolutely stacked San Francisco team. You would argue that with a better quarterback, San Francisco last year could have gone much farther.
Yeah, I mean, you think if you put a guy like Herbert or Burrow on that team, and when Burrow went to the Super Bowl with you can argue less overall around him than what Garoppolo had. So, yeah, quarterback, obviously, that's the most important position on the team. Might be the most important position in sports.
It is, yeah.
So, yeah, you need to have an at least above average quarterback if you're trying to contend every year. You can't be like, we have a decent quarterback with really good weapons around him, and then, we're going to go and win a division. You have to go and you have to have your quarterback be above average to superstar status. That's really that's like where it starts and where it ends. You can't be below average or just good enough to win you a couple of games. If you're not trying to win, then yeah, average quarterback is fine if you're trying to bridge something. But
let's look at Prescott. I mean, he's much better than Daniel Jones, but he's not very good in the playoffs, and the Cowboys, with a stacked team, kind of really go too far with that. And that's kind of scary because he's obviously much better than Daniel Jones is. And even still, it's not particularly good because he kind of flunks in the big game. So it is something that will be addressed, I'm sure, with the new regime at one point. It probably will need to be next year because I don't see us signing Jones long term. I just can't risk that with his injuries.
No, I don't see us taking a quarterback this year in the first round either. You were talking about it earlier. If teams trade up, I think right now pick 5 is like prime real estate. If Detroit doesn't take Malik Willis at 2, I think they're picking 2, right? Or are they picking 3?
Detroit 2, yeah.
Detroit 2, right. So if they don't take the quarterback there, and if Houston passes up on Malik Willis as well, because they also need a quarterback, the Jets and the Giants have like the best picks to trade down with, which scares me because the Jets have almost the same needs that we do. So they're bound to take a player that we want, or they can swing a deal and move down and get a bunch of picks, and something that the Giants would like to do as well when you're trying to build. And we've already heard reports that the Giants would be willing to move down from one of their 2 picks to get more. Joe Shane knows that you can't rebuild in 1 year and you need picks for the future. So that's obviously another discussion for when we get into draft talk, but keeping on with free agency, we also brought in some.
I add that trading down from 7 lowers our draft hit. You'd actually have, that's also a point too, because we are absolutely at a point where we're running right at the salary cap limit.
Well, Bradbury's on the move. He's got to be on the move soon. I think, especially with the Chiefs now wanting a cornerback, they're in the market. Maybe if they give up a little more and they get an extension with Bradbury done, then, Joe Shane gets his wish. He gets something better than a 5th-round pick for Bradbury, and we get to free up some salary cap. But it does beg the question if Barkley could be on the move, because we did sign Matt Breida, and I know that's not Saquon Barkley, but we're kind of getting some fast dudes back there in that backfield. We know Barkley is one of the fastest guys already.
Yeah.
Kind of wonder if maybe with the cap strengths that we have and knowing that Barkley's cap hit is about $7 million, if they're just going to move him, I don't know. I don't think they will, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point if they did, knowing that we need cap space and him and Bradbury have big cap hits right now.
Bradbury needs to be moved ASAP. Chiefs make the most sense. I mean, the dream would be you get a 3rd-round pick for that, because there's some nice options in the 3rd round. We definitely need a couple more picks to certainly look at a lot of the areas that we need. I mean, obviously we need a safety. We need another running back. We need a tight end, at least 1, probably 2. You need tackle. You need guard. There's a lot of work to be done, man. Possibly even wide receiver, not obviously a top-end wide receiver, but probably more depth you need there too. So there's not really a position on our roster which doesn't need to be addressed. and also the corner as well, because Bradbury will be gone, so you'll need another starting corner there to replace Bradbury. So that obviously raises questions whether we'd be interested in Ahmad Gardner maybe, but that's obviously something else to discuss. But there's a lot of work to be done. We need to accrue picks. We need to free up $12 million in order to pay for our draft picks. So Bradbury needs to move. Saquon, I don't believe the Breda signing has anything to do with Saquon, but Breda obviously adds a nice depth. Obviously, we freed up money because we cut Booker. So we do need another running back in the room. We've done that. I like Breda. He's fast. He's super fast.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, he's pretty good. I mean, what do you think?
No, I like him. We're adding a lot of speed to this offense. A healthy Kadarius Toney, healthy Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida. Even if you want to put Ricky Seals-Jones in there, he's a pretty quick dude for his size. So, yeah, we have speed. We certainly have some speed on this offense, and it makes me wonder what Brian Daboll's going to cook up, especially with a guy like Kadarius Toney. Maybe we use him in sort of a Deebo Samuel type role. That would be interesting. But
Brady's best years were in San Francisco in 2018, 2019. He had 800 yards in 18, 600 plus yards in 19. Then it tailed off when he moved to Miami, and he was used as backup in Buffalo, so he was rarely used there. Just the 7 touchdowns in his career, but he does his average yards per carry is very solid, man. It's like 4.9. For San Francisco, it was 5.1, 5.3. So he is a good situational back. That's a nice option to have. And there are some nice running backs in this draft for us to get in the later rounds. And then that would open the possibility of Saquon being moved.
Yeah, we also signed another running back. Was it Antonio Williams, I think? We signed him as well. So, look, I don't think they're going to move Barkley, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me at this point. I think right now he's going to be on the roster going into next year. But if someone were to get desperate and give us an offer they couldn't refuse, so to speak, then you probably have to do it at this point, knowing that Barkley's probably not getting re-signed. And, you can sign running backs and draft running backs for a heck of a lot cheaper. So we'll see what happens there. We also added some defense. Justin Ellis, Jihad Ward, getting some edge rushers and some defensive lineman help. Justin Ellis, big dude in the middle of that defensive line. Big boy. And it was what we were hoping we would see from Danny Shelton last year, but he was terrible. Look, we're bringing in guys with familiarity to Wink, and I think that's a good thing. If they come here because they want to be with Wink Martindale, that's literally what happened with Ward. He said Wink Martindale brought me here. He wanted to go there. He got the best out of me with Baltimore, and now he's back with him and with the Giants. And this is not a move that's going to take us out of the running for a Kayvon Thibodeau or anything like that. Let's not get crazy. But look, all the edge depth that we can get, give it to me because we need it. Really, really need it. Got to hit the quarterback. You've got to get sacks. It's something the Giants have always been able to do. When they win, they're hitting the quarterback. Get me edge rushers. And I like the signing of Ward, and I also like the signing of Ellis because now this could potentially free up, like I said before, with what we were hoping Danny Shelton would do. If he eats some double teams, that frees up Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. More opportunities to get to the quarterback, get some damn sacks, and get our defense off the field sooner. And hopefully, in turn, our offense can not go 3 and out in 20 seconds, and the defense doesn't get gas. See, it works out for both sides on that regard.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are on minimums, on absolute minimum salary. They're fine bodies, and they also know Wink's system. So that will definitely help the room. You need guys that know Wink Martindale's system in order to help push this along. Because, his system will take a little bit of getting used to for certain guys. And And Ward obviously is a very good situational pass rusher. He's absolutely fine. So it was 10 sacks in his career, I believe. He was a second-round draft pick by Baltimore in 2016. So listen, you getting guys from Baltimore is smart. Get guys from Buffalo is smart. You need guys with familiarity, as you said, because the key word is familiarity. You guys, they brought in guys that are familiar with our general manager and our head coach, and now we're getting guys that are familiar with our defensive coordinator. So it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and it's just being smart. We're not giving them too much money, and it's what you have to do when you're strapped for cash, because the Giants don't have any cap space and they still have to free up some. And when you're also trying to be competitive, we know we're not in a win now mode. We know it's a rebuild, but doesn't mean you have to just lay down and let teams beat you up. So if you can add depth for cheap, solid players, then these are the kind of moves that you make. And Joe Schoen has been doing that pretty much the entire offseason. None of these moves have been earth-shattering, eye-opening. Wow, can you believe the Giants signed this guy? It's just been, we know what his role is going to be. It's a solid move. And in Schoen, we trust is the saying, because right now he's done nothing to really confuse me except for the Logan Ryan cutting. That is the one thing that I've been still kind of scratching my head on as to why we did it, because it didn't save us much money at all on the cap. And his contract was very weird. Cutting him this year, you save nothing. We're cutting him next year would have saved you some, I think, like a few more million. But yeah, that's the only thing. If we want to end it on that note with Logan Ryan, what do you think about that one? That's confusing.
It is. Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make much sense why we didn't cut him post-June, because in post-June cut, you would have freed $2 million on this year's current salary cap. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. However, cutting him now frees up the $2+ million for next year's cap. So it's clear, really, when you think about it, what their strategy is. It's all about 2023. This year is about minimum guys, and then next year you can now attack free agency. That's obviously what their plan is. But again, it kind of flies in the face of what Schoen said in his original press conference, where he was going to compete this year and rebuild for the future. It kind of gives the message that they're punting on this year and they're going to rebuild for next year. Do you know what I mean? That's the message it gives to me. It almost looks like they kind of went to Logan Ryan and went, listen, if we cut you now, you can go and get yourself a good situation where you can win towards the end of your career, as opposed to if we cut you post-June, maybe there's not going to be that many options available for you. So I wonder if it's a gesture of goodwill to Logan Ryan, because he's a good dude and he's served us very, very well. And this is obviously a year where we're kind of punting in many respects. So it's how much does it save us in this year's cap? It's $700,000.
It was like, yeah, like 780 or something like that. Nothing crazy, which that was really what confused me. I'm like, we might as well just keep him, and then you cut him next year, and then you just, whatever cap you get is what you get. So that's the only thing that I've kind of scratched my head over and kind of just wonder why. And maybe, like you said, it is a goodwill gesture to say, we know we're not going to win this year. Your career is, on the back end of 30. No, he's not done with his career, but he's probably got another maybe 2 years left, maybe, and he has a chance to go win a championship with Tampa Bay. So
they picked him up pretty quick.
Yeah, they did.
Delighted. I mean, listen, Ryan had a poor year last year, but he was really good the year prior for us. He was excellent the year prior for us. But again, shows how twisted Gettleman's logic was and how much he's put us in salary cap hell. Just a comment on Dave Gettleman. He absolutely destroyed this franchise, and Schoen must be pulling his hair out right now. I mean, his hair will be turning gray by the end of this coming off season with the amount of work he has to do to try and put 53 men on his roster due to the salary cap hell that Dave Gettleman's put us in, with a lot of below average football players. I mean, it made no sense to be re-signing Logan Ryan anyway. We just drafted McKinney in the high second round. He was basically viewed as a first rounder. We got a steal with him in the second round. Why do you need to then invest further money in a dude that was playing his position? Like, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then you also remember we used Odell Beckham trade to bring in Jabril Peppers on the other side. So you had a bunch of safeties that are earning good money. It just didn't make a lot of sense. It just, like, the planning was not there from Gettleman. He was just like, he kept thinking that we were better than we were. And that was just a complete wrong strategy. He had no idea how to allocate resources. So
big shout out there, Big Blue in the Bronx.
Yo!
What is up, my dudes? He said, "What is up, my dude? It's good to see you. Thank you for popping in." Yeah, we're live for the first time here because we've attempted to do this via Skype recording, and that is just not very good. So we're just gonna go live with it. And if people drop in for the live show, great. If not, they catch it after it comes up to YouTube. That'd be great. But thank you for popping in, my dude.
Go ahead. Fire us a question. We'll answer.
Yeah, if you want, go ahead and ask a question about free agency or give us your thought in the comments. Probably going to wrap this up in a little bit anyway. But, yeah, with the Logan Ryan thing, if you want to talk about Gettleman, yeah, he – like – I wanted to see where he was going with some of these signings, but they called it a rebuild, but then he made moves that told me it wasn't a rebuild. It was basically what Jerry Reese did to save his job, just spending money to try to put a winner on the field. And it worked that 1 year for Jerry Reese where we made the playoffs, and then just everyone got hurt the following year. And then they brought in Gettleman and Shermer. And, yeah, Gettleman tried to win with an aging Eli, and then he got the quarterback, and then there was kind of this half-assed rebuild, and it was just weird. Everything about it was weird because we won 6 games. We were competitive with Joe Judge in that first year, and then they spent like we were ready to go win a division. And, it was just really, really weird, and then it put us into this cap hell that we're in right now. So I got to give a lot of props to Joe Shane because he is adding some solid pieces with very limited funds. And we know that more money can be freed up and will be freed up in the not too distant future when Bradbury is eventually moved on from. So we'll see what happens there.
Where would you go in the draft in regards to corner? Is there, like, if we don't go Gardner with one of our top 2 picks, is there a corner that you like in the second or third round who would be impressive?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't really looked at the cornerback depth. I've been so focused on, like, tackle, edge rusher,
right,
that the only guys that I really looked at in the secondary are Hamilton, Gardner, just because I feel like if we were to take one, it would be at that pick, 5 or 7. If we're going to take a secondary guy, we're probably going to get one in the 3rd, 4th round anyway, because that's what we've been doing. I don't think our secondary depth is is that bad, even without Bradbury. I like Dory Jackson a lot. I love Darnay Holmes. Aaron Robinson was solid last year, and if we were to get, let's just say we did get Kyle Hamilton, that allows Julian Love to go play some corner, which he was really good at when he played there for us. So we have options, and if they wanted to bring back Jabril Peppers on a 1-year deal, he's coming back from injury. That certainly helps. And you have McKinney and Hamilton as your safeties. There's options. But I definitely want to do some more research on the secondary because I feel like at least in the 3rd round, we're going to be taking a corner to add to the Wink's depth.
Would you go Hamilton with one of the top 2?
If he's there, I don't know if you pass up on him. He's such a good talent. But I think you have to attack offensive line first. Unless Thibodeau is there at 5, I don't think you pass up on Thibodeau. If you have your choice of Hamilton and Thibodeau at 5, you really you have a good problem on your hands if you're the Giants. But I think at that point you have to take Kayvon Thibodeau. But if they ended up going with Hamilton, I wouldn't be mad about it because he's good. Dude's good.
Well, he could potentially be one of the best talents in the entire draft. He might even be the best talent on terms of defense in the draft. So it's tempting, but my issue is money allocation to safety. You're paying good money to McKinney. You're going to probably want to re-sign him in a couple of years. Do I want two big money safeties? No, I don't think it's as good as he is. I just don't know if, considering how tight we are financially, if that's a good allocation of resource. Remember, that's the biggest problem that Dave Gettleman had. His resource allocation was embarrassing. It's very similar to Brian Cashman's resource allocation. He puts it all in DHs and big power dudes, and he kind of leaves the rest in terms of athletic ability or shortstops and things like that to another day, And it's what Dave Gettleman did because he put it all in defensive tackles or just big bodies, and on the defensive line, kind of just he just kind of left everything else to see how that goes, and it's a mistake. You need to, especially in a salary cap situation, you need to plan ahead as to how you're going to allocate your resources. So that is my only question in regards to Hamilton. There's definitely no question about his ability. If I was to choose between a corner and a safety, I'd probably go corner, even if Hamilton is slightly better. I would say, I don't think there's too much of a difference between the two ability-wise. I'd probably go with Gardner there because, you do need to have top corners in order to get anywhere in the NFL. So
that is true,
especially with Martindale system. But we do have a really good one in Dory Jackson. He really stepped up last year.
No, he was good
as the year went on. Actually, for me,
yeah, I like Dory Jackson a lot. I like our secondary, to be honest. We have guys that can step up if need be. Aaron Robinson, Darnay Holmes, Julian Love, McKinney. If we bring back Peppers on a short deal, we know Adoree Jackson's our number one when Bradbury goes. And a cornerback is coming in the draft. It's just a matter of will we go in the first round or maybe we go in the second round. If we get some more picks, if we trade down, then we can certainly add to that secondary. Options are there, and we'll get to that, of course, when we talk about the draft more, because that's coming up soon. I definitely want to get in draft talk because when you're a bad team and you have the chance to add some exciting new talent, that's what gets the fan in me excited because we don't have much else to be excited about right now with the Giants because they've been a terrible team.
You have before we go? It's been a crazy time in the NFL. The Giants have been very, very quiet, but every other team is going nuts. Any teams that have stood out to you of having a really good offseason?
The Dolphins have, they got the best tackle on the market. They got Tyreek Hill in a trade, which I don't think anybody saw coming.
What did you think about that trade?
I had no idea that was even a thing. Like, I saw the tweet from Schefter that there was trade talks, and then next thing you know, he was traded, and I was like, that happened quickly. And
that escalated quickly?
Yeah. I was like, that was quick. I did not have any clue that was even an option. And yeah, I think it was between the Dolphins and the Jets that wanted him, and he picked Miami, which is interesting. It's very interesting that a team trades a player to a team of his choice. Like, yeah, you don't want to be here no more, but we'll trade you to a team that you want to be. I always found that interesting.
I think it was mostly a salary cap situation. I think the Chiefs obviously put all their resource into Patrick Mahomes' contract, and they just couldn't afford to give Hill the contract that he needs. But my God, the Chiefs are going to be so much weaker without Tyreek Hill. I mean,
it'll be interesting.
Explosive in that Chiefs offense. I mean, as a NFL fan, it sucks. The Hills in Miami. or even if he went to the Jets, I mean, he would still be wasted, but he might have even had a slightly better chance because I think the Jets quarterback has better upside than Tua. Tua's got no arm. I think me and you have got a similar arm strength to Tua. So I'm not quite sure what good Hill's going to be when he's doing these deep routes and he's going at 100 miles an hour. He's going faster than a Ferrari, and Tua can only throw about as far as one room to the other. So I don't know how that's going to work, but Miami did well. But, the Chiefs got a pretty good haul, man. Like 5 picks for a wide receiver. It's a good haul, but they have to draft well.
And which makes them a good trade partner for Bradbury because now they got some extra picks. So they might.
Exactly.
And they got some cap relief, so, they need a corner.
What about Deshaun Watson?
He's a interesting player without getting into all that. But in terms of the football player.
I'm just talking about the trade. I don't want to talk about him as a person.
Right. We'll see what Cleveland does. I mean, Cleveland was supposed to be a contender with Baker Mayfield and Odell and all them. I don't know. They got nobody wants Baker Mayfield.
I'm a man without a home.
Yeah, nobody wants Baker. The Browns said they weren't going to trade him, and they ended up trading for Watson. They also got Amari Cooper. So, Cleveland, the AFC is going to be stacked. The NFC is basically going to be like Green Bay is going to be competitive, even though Devontae Adams is gone. They still have Aaron Rodgers. Tampa Bay is going to be the elite of the NFC because Brady's back. The AFC is going to be the league to watch this year. It's because there's like 10 teams that could all be competing for that top spot by the season's end. So it's AFC is going to be crazy this year because for a while it was NFC domination, but now Cleveland's going to be a team to watch. Miami's going to be a team to watch if Tua takes that next step. New England's always going to be competitive. Mac Jones is good. Buffalo. The AFC East is going to be a 3-team race.
You could make the argument that the Chargers are possibly a better team than the Chiefs now. The Tyreek Hill trade. The Chiefs have gone the route with the Juju Smith-Schuster, who's, he's solid, but his hands are sometimes a little bit iffy, and he's hurt a lot. But he's, he has some upside if he can stay healthy. I don't really view him as a number one.
He's got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to him. I think he'll be fine.
But they've also got Valdez-Scantling, who's fast as hell. But again, iffy hands. I think he only caught like 49% of his targets. But what he does catch, he does well with. So they're going to have to try and work something around again. Mecole Hardman is fast as hell. They've got a lot of guys that are fast as hell, but have got very iffy hands.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is an odd way of going. But if they draft a good receiver, say in the first or second round, and then, go in and make Travis Kelce their number one option, then I think they'll be fine. But it looks like the Chargers are going to be better.
The Chargers are going to be good. The Raiders are going to be good. Raiders, the AFC West in general is just going to be good because Denver's got the quarterback now. And that was the first big move, really. Russell Wilson, he got traded. Everyone was like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, everybody just started getting moved. Like, this has been an unusually busy NFL.
This does not happen in the NFL. Like, what was this? We never used to get massive trades in the NFL. It was just used to be just everyone seeing out their contract. But now everyone is getting traded.
It is wild. It is a fun time to be a football fan.
The NBA, the Packers will be a very interesting situation because Rodgers and Devontae Adams is very similar to Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Like, they were, an incredible dynamic duo. How the hell are the Packers going to recreate anything without Devontae Adams? I don't think they've got any depth. I feel bad for Rodgers.
Well, luckily for them, their division isn't very good. Right. Chicago is going to be, they just traded Khalil Mack. We can't forget that happened. Khalil Mack's gone. Detroit, we know, isn't going to be competing this year. And Minnesota is probably their biggest competition right now. And they're still, they're always kind of up and down where you feel like they should be better. So Green Bay, even without Devontae Adams, probably walks through that NFC North. And it's just a matter of what they do when they get to the postseason. Can Aaron Rodgers, when he's getting – it's really because he got that money that they couldn't pay Devontae Adams. So he better – if this is the year he's going to do it, he better go out there and freaking do it because he's getting paid for it. He got his wish. We'll see, though. It should be a fun rest of the offseason.
Watch the Packers front office draft a quarterback again in the first round.
No, yeah, that'd be great. I'll be sure to watch the reaction from Tom Grossi live. That'd be hilarious.
Talking about Tom Brady. The Tom Brady coming back from retirement is like an afterthought with all the crazy stuff that's
everything that's happened. Like at one point the Carson Wentz trade was kind of big, and then next thing you know, like everything happening so quickly. That's what's been. It was one move follows up the next. You're kind of like, what's next? And you wonder who's the next player because Khalil Mack, Russell Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Tom Brady unretiring, Aaron Rodgers' contract, Devontae Adams, all these big names that have been moved or coming back, whatever, re-signed. It's crazy. It is a crazy offseason. As an NFL fan, I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I cannot wait to see what draft night brings because we can only imagine the kind of trades we're going to see that day. Day one, day two.
Feels like we're playing a Madden sim right now.
Yeah, and the salary cap is turned off, and all trades are on, and just there's no logic involved. Some of these trades wouldn't even happen in Madden. You couldn't even do some of these trades in Madden. You can't get 5 picks.
Yeah. You could not do that. Like, I wonder if you could recreate that Tyreek Hill trade or the first trade.
You can only trade 3 picks in Madden. 3 things. You can't trade 5. You can't trade up to 5 picks. So yeah, you can't even do that in Madden. Unreal. Anyway, I think that will just about cover it for us here at Nerd Out Sports live for the first time. A fun episode, and we'll definitely have to use this live feature more often because if we get more viewers when we're doing it, get some interaction in the comment section. That's always fun. But the next time we're on here, we'll certainly be doing some draft talk because it is coming up soon. I can't wait for it. And as always, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next time. Let's go Giants. Peace out.